All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Yankees Avenue Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Rourke, and it is Friday, April 12th, 2019, and it's been a couple weeks. I believe the last time we did this podcast was after opening day, and if you missed out a little bit, the Yankees haven't gotten off to the greatest of starts. They're currently 5-7, entering the series against Chicago on Friday. Today's Friday by the time you guys are hearing this. But yeah, it hasn't been a great start for the Yankees. Obviously, most recently, they just got swept by the Houston Astros in a series that was very, very brutal to watch. And, I mean, the bullpen, that's really what it comes down to. The bullpen didn't do its job, mainly Zach Britton. Pitching-wise, one of the few bright spots, Masaru Tanaka in Game 1, he did pitch pretty well. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, and 3 strikeouts. He's looked pretty good through the first 3 starts. I'll be honest, his stuff and his location actually hasn't looked great, but he's putting up good numbers. He has a 1.47 ERA right now through 3 starts. Luis Cessa, he's looked pretty okay this season. Steven Tarpley, he threw a scoreless inning in there as well. Tommy Kahnle, he has not looked good. But some good things that I did see that I did like. I was actually pretty pleased with how the offense played in this series. Of course, the Yankees never came out on top, but the Yankees were in every game. They almost fought back in Game 3. Aaron Judge, he looked great against Justin Verlander. Judge has good pitching. That's something, if you haven't noticed, you may have started to notice when you saw him against Verlander on Monday. But yeah, he went 2 for 3 with a solo shot. He's having a pretty okay season so far. Obviously, he's not putting up MVP numbers like I predicted he will. Obviously, we're only 10 games in. But right now, he is hitting. Let me just check real quick. Judge is hitting, 289, an OPS of 940, 3 homers, 7 ribbies. So, obviously, not a bad season whatsoever. Strikeouts are a little high. He did have 1 hit yesterday, but struck out 3 times. And he did have a walk. So, his on-base percentage, I believe, is north of 420. So, he's just having a nice season so far. Just looking at the rest of the Yankees box, Brett Gardner, he's been atrocious, hitting, I think below 200. Hitting 196 now. Luke Voigt, the power's been there. Average-wise, he isn't really where he probably wants to be. He's hitting 196. Does have an OPS of 784. Gleyber Torres is off to a good start. Obviously, he's hitting 313, has a couple homers, and 948 OPS. Greg Bird, not having a good season, but he did look really good at the plate yesterday. Had some great at-bats, walked twice, and a nice line drive single to left field. Hitting 214. DJ LeMahieu, of course, he's looked great, hitting 410. He was leading the league in batting average at one point. I'm not sure if he still is. I'd have to check. Hitting, 410, 993 OPS. Clint Frazier, he's been a big surprise. If he continues to play this way, by the time Aaron Hicks and Giancarlo Stanton come back, you're probably looking at Brett Gardner being a 4th outfielder. But to talk about Clint Frazier, the home run that he had on Saturday, that was really impressive. Obviously, he had the 3-1 shot to left field to give the Yankees the lead, and then he follows that up on Sunday with a 2-homer, 4-hit day. And then he had a really good at-bat against Justin Verlander, too. I think he had an RBI single or a double against him. Clint Frazier, he's looked great at the plate. Not so much defensively. Defensively, he's had a couple mishaps in the outfield, if you want to call it that. He had that diving catch, he dropped it in left field, where a play you really should have made. He said so himself. There was 2 balls he really should have caught in left field that he admitted that he should have caught, that he didn't. And Gary Sanchez has looked great at the plate. Obviously not so much yesterday because he did have the pinch hit appearance and he struck out. But besides that, he's been the Yankees' best hitter as of late. Right now it's hitting about 270 with an OPS over 1,000, 6 home runs, and 12 RBIs. But, I mean, Gary Sanchez, you got to hand it to the guy. He really received a lot of criticism last year, and rightfully so. He did deserve that criticism. He hit 186. His defense still was pretty atrocious. And he really couldn't stay healthy throughout the majority of the year. He played only in 89 games. And obviously he had the issues with the laziness, quote unquote. It wasn't really laziness, just remember that double play back in July where Gary didn't run out. That caused some controversy. Then you had the people thinking that Gary's DL stint was just the Yankees' way of benching him. That wasn't the case whatsoever. But all in all, main point here is Gary Sanchez had a really rough 2018, and it's nice to see, even though it is only 10 games, it's nice to see him playing very well so far into 2019. He's on pace. I mean, I don't want to go into on pace, but you got to see the guy at least touching 35 to 40 homers if he does stay healthy. Because he did hit 33 home runs in 2017, and he missed the entire month of April. So if he's going to play a healthy 2019, I mean, at full Gary potential, which it looks like he's playing at to that level right now, I mean, yeah, the guy should hit 35, 40 home runs. As for his backup catcher, Austin Romine did not have a good series against Houston. Wednesday night, he had an opportunity to tie the game with a sac fly. Obviously, he didn't come through. He little looper ball to Jose Altuve on a fly. But he did not have a good series, mostly defensively. That's really what I'm talking about here. Because you're not really going to expect Romine to have a great series offensively. He has shown peaks here and there of being a backup catcher that can provide some pop. But defensively, which is what he's in the game for, he really was not too good this series. But yeah, basically the bottom line comes down to this. This is a series that when the Yankees are healthy and their bullpen is pitching to the way it should, they win easily. I mean, they've had leads in all of these games. The bullpen just hasn't come through. and it really just shows how crucial Dellin Betances is to this pitching staff. I believe he's set to come back sometime in April, probably more so towards like the April 25th, somewhere in that week. But that'll be a big boost once Dellin Betances comes back. Obviously, some news that we haven't been able to discuss. Luis Severino, he's probably going to be out north of the All-Star break. He had a grade 2 strain in his shoulder. Not good news. Anything to do with the shoulder you never really want to hear about. But Luis Severino, I mean, wish him well. Hope he comes back as soon as possible and healthy as possible. But all in all, I mean, the ultimate reason why the Yankees were, I guess, outmatched, quote-unquote, by the Astros, they're not playing healthy right now. I mean, I posted yesterday on Yankees Avenue, no caption whatsoever. I just posted pictures of all the guys missing, and Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Hicks, Miguel Andujar, CC Sabathia, Dellin Betances, Didi Gregorius. I mean, Didi Gregorius is out. That was the Yankees' 4-hitter last year. And you're going to have Stanton back. I mean, we're talking for Didi, I mean, probably after the All-Star break. But the Yankees, I really think they're going to win the AL East this year. Boston has not looked good whatsoever. They're actually losing as I'm recording this right now. So by the time this comes out on Friday, because it's actually Thursday that I'm recording this, Boston's losing 3-0 right now. Hopefully by the time you guys are listening to this, you find out that Boston lost. But yeah, that will put them at 3-10 on the season. Obviously, the Yankees aren't doing too great either, 5-7. But I mean, hell, 3-9, and if it's 3-10, that sounds a lot worse than 5-7. But this will level itself out a little bit over as the season goes on. The Rays, I don't think the Rays are all that. I think they definitely should contend for the playoffs. But I mean, they're 10-3 right now. They have like a 2.5 game lead in the division. I'm not worried about the Rays yet. So I'm just comparing side by side Yankees to Boston right now. That's why I'm not freaking out as much as I say would if Boston got off to the start they got to last year. Because at this point last year, I believe they were 12 games in. I think they were 8-3 or something like that, or 9-3. But yeah, I'm comparing how the Yankees are playing to how the Red Sox are playing. So, I mean, as of right now, the Yankees lead the Red Sox in the division. That's all that really matters to me at this point. Obviously, we are early in the season. We're still, like I said, I think we're 12 games in. But yeah, once the Yankees start getting these big pieces back, I mean, they lost Giancarlo Stanton, the 2017 National League MVP. That's not going to come without, consequences or bad results. And Aaron Hicks, a guy that just signed to a 7-year deal, $70 million deal. He hit 27 home runs for the Yankees last year. Had an OPS of 850. Probably definitely one of the best center fielders in the American League next to Mike Trout. Almost Miguel Andujar, the runner-up for the Rookie of the Year award to Shohei Ohtani last year. A lot of people think he should have won the award. I actually didn't think Miguel Andujar should have won the award. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but I could totally see why Shohei Ohtani won. Anyways, that's a separate topic. But yeah, Miguel Andujar, that was 27 home runs last year, 90 RBIs, hit 297. Not that batting average matters, but it just shows how good of a hitter he actually is. Voice is cracking. Who else? I mean, yeah, like I said, Dellin Betances, the Yankees' best reliever last year, next to Chapman when healthy. I mean, these aren't guys you can just lose and then there not be consequences for. I mean, the Yankees aren't as good of a team right now as they should be, and that's just the bottom line. And then you got CC Sabathia. He's set to come back on Saturday. That'll be a nice boost. Obviously, Jonathan Loaisiga, he went down technically for CC. Joe Harvey was called up in the meantime, but I'm sure he'll probably be sent down after tomorrow's game. But yeah, getting CC back, that'll be a nice boost for the pitching staff, but especially more so in the clubhouse, because obviously CC, he's one of the unofficial captains in the clubhouse, and especially of that pitching staff. So definitely will be huge to get CC back, and it'll just be nice to start seeing these guys like say CC Sabathia, he's going to replace Jonathan Loaisiga, and then all of a sudden Miguel Andujar, he may come back, and you'll stop seeing Giovanni Urshela in the lineup. Just it'd be nice to see things fill out the way they should, where once, let's say, Aaron Hicks comes back, and then Brett Gardner gets moved to being a fourth outfielder. All in all, the depth will start getting better, and the Yankees lineup and results will ultimately start getting better. So that's really all you really got to think about right now is try to tread water for the time being. I mean, the Yankees should be winning these games, don't get me wrong, but for April, try to at least get through the month of April, sitting around 500, hopefully a couple games over, but at least 500, nowhere below. And then just try to wait to get these guys back. And because the Yankees, when healthy, they are a really good team. And honestly, all that really matters is right now the AL East. You gotta be beating out Boston. I mean, if the Rays amount to something bigger as an actual threat to win the division, then I'll start worrying about that when the time comes to it. But as of now, the Yankees, they're not behind Boston in any way at all. So yeah, just try to win the AL East this year. And I mean, I'm saying this very casually, but entering the playoffs, and I'm sure the Yankees are probably going to get some big arm at the deadline. Entering the playoffs, all you really want to be is healthy. Because the Yankees, they were good enough to win it all last year. It just didn't really work out in their favor. But yeah, what I'm trying to get at here is this isn't the end of the world. And this is coming from me, who's a very, very rational fan. And I like to jump to conclusions that, this isn't going to work. Shit isn't working here, blah, blah, blah. All in all, the Yankees are not fielding a really good team right now, and that's because they haven't been healthy. And that's the bottom line. All right, and real quick, before we get into the question side of things, a little heads up to the series with the Chicago White Sox. Friday's matchup, you have Lucas Giolito, a one-time highly touted pitching prospect. One point, he was actually the best pitching prospect in all of baseball. He's having an okay season so far. He's going to line up against Jay Happ. And then Saturday comes, CC Sabathia is expected to be activated off the DL. He'll face up against former Yankee Ivan Nova, obviously who had a pretty damn good rookie year for the Yankees and actually won them a playoff game in Game 1 of the ALDS in 2011. And then Game 3, you got Carlos Rodon against Domingo Germán. And that stuff's all set to change. That's just the probables right now. All right, so we're going to get into the question side of things. Obviously, as I say all the time, if you haven't already, be sure to follow at Yankees Avenue and at NYY Home Runs on Instagram and at Dan Allen Rourke on Instagram as well, because that's where I get all the questions for these the podcasts. So if you want to get your voice heard on the show, be sure to follow me on my social medias and then just submit a question when I ask for them. All right, so the first question is, how much better will the Yankees be when healthy? Like I was just saying all along in this podcast, the Yankees when healthy, they're a great team. This is a team that won 100 games last year and that only got better. They're a great team, and when they're healthy, they're going to do some damage. The next question, are the Rays legit contenders to win the division when we get all our dues back? What I'm saying right now, I don't see the Rays as a team that's going to win 95 to 100 games, and I think the Yankees and the Red Sox are going to sit right around that area, 95 to 100 wins. So, and I just don't see the Rays doing that. The Rays are a team that, obviously they heavily analytically driven, which all teams are, but they seem to always be a little more out of the box. I don't really think their success is going to sustain to that level, a 95 to 100 win season. But you never know. I mean, they did win 90 games last year, so who am I to say they won't win 5 more this year? But as a real significant threat to the division come September and October, I don't really see so. How are the Sox worse than us? Fatigue, maybe? I don't want to say fatigue. I mean, all in all, their pitching staff is not good. I mean, Chris Sale, their ace, who ton of respect for, obviously, and he just signed that big contract, $150 million deal, I think it was. I forget. But obviously, Chris Sale, he's getting destroyed this season. Has an ERA over 8. His velocity was concerned his first 2 starts. He was sitting around 88 to 90 miles an hour. Then his last start, his most recent start, he was touching 94, but he still gave up 5 earned runs. So what does that get you? Chris Sale hasn't looked good. David Price, David Price is nothing special whatsoever. I mean, he pitched a couple good games in the playoffs last year, and everybody thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's not that good of a pitcher. Hasn't been a great pitcher since his last start in Toronto. And all in all, it comes down to that. Their offense is good, I mean, Mookie Betts, he's going to have a great year. And their offense, JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, he's looked okay this year too. I mean, the Red Sox offense is really good. That's why they will compete, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, as for their regression, I do think obviously they're not going to win 108 games. I mean, everything has to go right for 108-win season. But all in all, like I said, their pitching staff, it's really just, it's not a pitching staff that can sustain a 100-win season again, Especially if Chris Sale isn't right. That's what it really comes down to. Next question, should the Yankees find a starter, and if yes, who? You guys know I'm kind of really set on Madison Bumgarner. I haven't seen how he's done so far in 2019, but he's kind of been my guy ever since. I wanted them to get him last year. Obviously, I understand the circumstances why they wouldn't, because he's had some trouble the past couple of years. Statistically, he isn't striking out as many guys, and he's had those incidents with the motorcycle bike or whatever. Let's see. All right, so in 2019, Madison Bumgarner has a 3.32 ERA in 3 games started, 19 innings pitched, and has 16 strikeouts. All right, so his K for 9 is definitely not too great. But I'll check it down. Ask me again in July what I think the Yankees should do at the deadline, because if they got all these guys back, they may not need to go get anybody at the deadline. And even I tweeted last night. Geez, my voice is starting to go. I tweeted last night that I think it should be a very exciting deadline for the Yankees. And then somebody actually brought up a really good point. I mean, you could look at all these DL activations, or IL for that matter, activations they'll be getting off, like Stanton and Duhar, all these guys. That's their trade acquisitions. Those are the acquisitions that are going to boost this team up. That's what they need right now. And when healthy, as most teams are that are competing, when healthy, the Yankees are a very complete team. But I'm sure they'll make a move or two at the deadline. I'm sure they will get a pitcher. Because I don't know if you really want Jay Happ or CC Sabathia starting games in the playoffs this year. I think if Severino's healthy, that is. You're definitely going to have Severino and Paxton start. And obviously Masaru Tanaka, who am I kidding? One of the greatest Yankee postseason performers of all time, actually, when you look at statistics. Which is why Masaru Tanaka is actually my favorite Yankee pitcher of all time, surpassing Andy Pettitte. Anyways, that was a side note. But, like I said, for a best of 5 game set, you probably would go with, I guess, Severino, Tanaka, Paxton as of right now. But yeah, I mean, either way, I think the Yankees probably get a starter. I'll get more into that when the trade deadline nears. Who in the bullpen needs to step up for the Yankees is the next question. I mean, Zach Britton, mostly guys just got to do their job. You don't have to step up, just do your job. If Zach Britton did his job, the Yankees would have won that game. If Chad Green did that job, the Yankees would have won yesterday's game, or whatever day it was. But it really comes down to that. The Yankees bullpen guys, they're not going to pitch scoreless innings every single day. You can't just have a starter go 5, 6 innings or 7 innings or whatever that matter and just expect the same guys to produce scoreless innings for you. You're pitching, say, Ottavino, Britton, eventually Betances, and Chapman. That's 4 guys right there. Would you expect every single day them all to just not give up a run? It doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous, but that's why I'm hoping the Yankees starters can give them a little more length. I'm not blaming any relievers for Wednesday night's loss. That's James Paxton's fault. James Paxton didn't pitch well, put the Yankees down early, and that's really the ultimate reason why the Yankees lost the game. So it really comes down to the pitching staff as a whole. They just got to start really pitching better. That's what it comes down to. Who should we pick up to completely solidify the roster? This kind of goes into the same thing about a trade deadline question. But like I said, if they can get an elite starter at the deadline, I'm not really going to get into who yet because it feels pointless if I just started naming off trade deadline candidates and it's April 12th. But yeah, like I said, Madison Bumgarner, that's a name I've obviously, and many people have wanted the Yankees to acquire the past couple of years. So, if he's pitching well at that point, like come mid-July, end of July, then yeah, I'd say Madison Bumgarner's the move. And obviously, that just all depends on what the Yankees situation is right now. Or not right now, in July. All right, so that's going to be a wrap on the Yankees Avenue Podcast. I believe we're on episode 5 or 6, and I'm going to try to do these every week. It probably should be every week. It really all depends on how the Yankees' schedule lines out. Like I said, when the Yankees play the Red Sox, I think it's actually on a Wednesday or a Thursday, like a Wednesday and a Thursday. It's a 2-game set. I very well could just release a podcast episode right after the Boston series, and that could be on a Thursday, like a Thursday night or like a Wednesday, or before the Boston series, I could drop one, and that'll be like a Tuesday. So it's really going to depend on what goes on in the Yankees season. And come playoffs, we'll probably do one every night. All right, so like I said, that's going to be a wrap on this episode of the Yankees Avenue Podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me at Dan Allen Rourke on Twitter and on Instagram as well, and at Yankees Avenue and at NYY Home Runs on Instagram. All right, so I'll see you guys next time, next Thursday, and let's go Yankees.